So the story goes there was an engineer working at Dyson, born and raised in London, aerospace engineer, stable job, settled life. Yes, I'm talking about our today's guest, Navjot Sawhney, founder of the washing machine project. One day, he went to South India for a project. He met a neighbor. Her name was Divya. Divya spent up to 20 hours every single week washing clothes by hand, 20 hours just on laundry. He saw it, he stopped, he thought, and then he made a promise. That one promise is today changing lives in 15 countries for over 30,000 people. And behind that promise is a story that you will not forget after today. Welcome, Navjot. It is a pleasure to have you on this podcast. And so the story goes like this, and the question goes, Nav, for someone hearing your name for the first time today, how do you describe what you do? Not the title, not the organization, just what you actually do every day and what drives your momentum in making the organization that is the washing machine project. And obviously, it will go whichever direction you want to take it, you can take it.
That's a great introduction, Arjun. Thank you, man. And I love your energy. I think it's really nice. And how did you hear about the washing machine project?
So that is on another story. So I was at St. Pancras, I think, King's Cross and St. Pancras. So I saw
Yeah.
your thing, but I was running for a meeting. I could not. When I came back, you were not there. Uh,
I was in St. Pancras.
so you were outside. You were, I think, doing your marketing for your product, and you will throw the light on it for our audience how you do it because everyone knows what you do. And how do you show the washing of the product and get people in, and then you
Wow. So
help
you,
them to have a conversation with
so,
them.
wow. So you walked past us in King's Cross, and we were doing our thing there, and
Yes.
that's how you first found out
When
about the
I
washing
came
machine.
back from the meeting, I was at St. Pancras, the hotel there. So in the
Yeah,
reception,
yeah.
the restaurant there, I was having a meeting. Once I came back, you were not there. So I thought, yeah, one day I will catch him and I'll get him onto the podcast because this is a guy, this is a person who's running the whole thing in a way that it is
Yeah.
supposed to be. He's the face. He's just there. He's always in places and never shy of whatever he wants to do. So that's what
Yeah.
caused me to have this podcast, and I wanted to talk to you. Meet you
Great. No,
online, and then
thank you.
one day find out how to meet you in London.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, next time we can have this meeting in
Yes,
this
face to
catch
face.
up in person. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. So please tell me about your startup. What is not a startup? It's a movement. It's the washing machine project. Give me some details about it. What?
Sure. I mean, the washing machine project's mission is to washing clothes leaves no one behind, doesn't hold people back.
Right.
Uh, and we start with people first, whether that's the people that work with the washing machine project, to people that we design our machines for. We innovate for good, whether that's, the actual machine itself, which is the world's first flat pack manual washing machine, or how we innovate when we sell our machines or distribute our machines.
Right.
And we build to last. We want to build a machine and an organization that outlives us all. So that's the idea. And we're addressing a huge problem here, which is that over 50% of the world still hand wash clothes.
Right.
And when you look at medium to low income countries, that increases to over 80% of those populations. So this burden is disproportionately placed on women and girls, and it denies opportunities to work, study, and rest. And we're changing that.
Right. So from aerospace engineering at Queen Mary, then Dyson, and then coming back to this startup, how does
Mm.
that journey? What was the pivot, and what made you move in this direction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from a South Asian family, so
Yes.
going to university was
Right.
always the goal.
Right.
um, but the journey to get there was quite interesting. I was a very curious child. I really was interested in how things worked. I was obsessed with, taking appliances apart, not knowing how to put them back together again. I used to make my mum really angry about that. My my kind of curiosity led to me studying engineering at university, at college. And, you know, I wasn't really given the guidance
Mm,
to pursue my purpose or passion. I was always
mm,
told to,
mm,
uh, just do um, just do what the status quo was, which was try and find the best graduate program available. And
mm,
so that's what I did. I joined one of the most innovative appliance manufacturers in the world, arguably, and I joined their graduate program, and I was there for 3.5 years, and um, I realized, 2 or 3 years in, that this is it. You know, this
mm,
is every bit of good engineering that I was going to be doing was making a vacuum cleaner for a rich person, and that didn't align to what I wanted to do. And I started looking for new opportunities. I was lucky enough to come across an opportunity to go and volunteer with Engineers Without Borders, um, to make cookstoves or chulas in South India, to join an existing company that was already doing that.
mm,
And I thought, what better way to, um, you know, do good with my engineering, than to design a fuel efficient cook stove for 50% of the world that still have to use wood to cook their food. And so that's what I did for a year and a half. But what I didn't know was that experience would completely change the trajectory of my life, and the people that I would meet, and the person, my next door neighbor Divya, would completely those conversations would completely change the trajectory of my career, my life, my personal life, and thousands of lives around us.
Hmm. Right. So, what was the moment that you knew that this is a problem that I can work on for my life of the next 10, 15 years that you've been working on it? So, what made you have that trust on the thing that you had made to move in that direction that, okay, this is good and I should do this?
I don't think it was a full thought through plan, and I think there's a lot of naivety
Hmm.
in terms of the challenge that I was taking on at the time. Um, but all I wanted to do was just make a washing machine for my next door neighbor. I met Divya when I was in India, and I was making cook stoves there, and I became best friends with my next door neighbor. She used to spend, hours and hours a day on unpaid labor, whether it was collecting wood to 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 cook for her family, whether it was standing in line for water because some days water didn't arrive, or whether it's hand washing her family's clothes. And she wanted to work, but she just didn't have the time. And um, I said to Divya, I will just buy you an electric washing machine. She said, she didn't have a generator, um, or running water. Uh, so your washing machine won't mean anything for me. So I said, one day I will come back here and I'll give you a washing machine. I'll make a washing machine for you, and that was the promise. And that was the penny drop moment. But there were many moments like that.
Right.
Um, um, I I came back home to the UK, and I enrolled into a master's program in humanitarianism, and I started talking to my colleagues who were already working in the UN and Oxfam and Care International, and I started pitching this idea to them, and they said, "This is brilliant. This is something that's never been done before." And
mm,
so we started prototyping this idea, me and my friend Alex,
mm,
who is still a friend of the washing machine project to this day. And we were lucky enough to be invited to Iraq,
right.
to test our first prototype. We had one weekend to develop this prototype, and Alex bought all of the parts of Amazon, I believe, and we were just putting the stuff together, and we just flew to Iraq, to test this prototype that we had.
Right.
And then it was that moment when we first showed the prototype to someone,
Mm.
and they were like, "This is good," It was leaking, and the clothes weren't cleaning properly, but you know, they
Mm.
said that this could work, and I think there were multiple moments, and even to this day, there's multiple moments where you're like, oh, this, this could scale,
Right. So there are two types of people in the world, right? One are who are like me. I want to go into a business and I want to make money out of it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm profit driven, and I want to make something which is a profit driven organization. And then there
Yeah.
are those who are working from the uh, uh, point of a goodness is first, and then we should go into uh, the philanthropy part of it. As your product is more, if I'm not wrong, it's more of a philanthropy way of driving the whole conversation into creating some real impact, right?
Mhm.
Now, looking at that, looking at Nav, right? How does Nav? So he is a philanthropy driven executor or a profit driven executor, and what drove you to be philanthropy driven?
Yeah. So this is a really hot topic at the washing machine project right now, and
Right.
I registered the washing machine project as a not-for-profit CIC, a community interest company, which
Right.
is a social enterprise really,
Right.
and we also have a TWMP Foundation, which is the charitable arm as well. So I really believe in profit.
Amazing.
I think I think our research has found that people want to pay for the machine, if they can do, and you know I have no interest in getting rich off the washing machine project, but
Right.
I want to build a long-lasting, sustainable, uh,
Organization and a
revenue
system.
generating
Yeah.
organization, and I think that's what's missing in the not-for-profit sector to this day. And you've seen the examples where organizations have been, really badly affected through whether it's US aid cuts or
Right.
UK aid reductions, and I don't want to be that, I don't want
I
to be
agree.
there.
So self-sustainability is something that you reflect with, right? So it's something like you have to be sustainable to drive something big, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have to have the right kind of talent also. So sometimes what happens is if you're looking for a talent and you can't get it because your funding and your way of working is not allowing it, there's a way of getting the right talent through social enterprise. Do you reflect with that?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
in the early days, it started as a volunteer organization. There were people just like me who were frustrated in their day jobs that wanted to just dedicate their time to the mission and vision, and that took us to a certain level.
Yeah.
But we have people, dedicated people, brilliant people at the washing machine project that work, above and beyond. They give up their lives to scale the washing machine project, and that requires money. That requires scale. That requires selling machines, and I think that I'm really comfortable with that.
Yeah. So that's an amazing thing to know as well, because then you kind of become my deeper friend as well from the money side of things. So now let's go towards the next part. So you've been to Dyson, you've been to technology companies, you have been an engineer before. Looking at Dyson, the recent experiences or all the experiences, did they add value to you designing the product? So when you're looking at the product itself, so I see now that I have seen the visuals and videos of your product. I feel that it is very easy to operate. It is having the right number of gears in it so that the effort is the least when you're moving the fulcrum of the whole thing. So, how does that technology come to being? So, was it the result of your experiences of working in large organizations, or was it your own way of looking at the problem? How did you go to the first principles of the problem of
Yeah, I
working on the
mean,
product? So, this is a product.
yeah,
Yeah.
the machine doesn't have any gears by their origin, so it's completely direct driven, and that was on the back of user research.
Amazing.
We've interviewed thousands. I think the count is probably more than 3 or 4 thousand interviews now with families across 15 countries around the world, um, on their habits, whether when it comes to hand washing clothes. So we understand how big families are, where they get their water from, what detergent do they use, what types of clothes do they wash with, how much time do they spend washing clothes by hand, whether they want an alternative to hand washing, and if they were using a washing machine, what would they would do with that time. So we aggregate all of this data, and then we put that into our design process and directly affect the design based on user input. I've been lucky enough to build a team of engineers that are from companies like Dyson, but other organizations that do this on a day-to-day basis. Um, but yeah, I mean, all of our lived experiences, whether it's through previous employment, but also talking to our users, has helped us, push the product along to being the world's first flat pack washing machine that won the Time magazine best invention of the year last year.
Amazing. So now you are discovered across the world in the places which are the most critical, right? That is also there for your product, right? So you are now visible to people who are in places like Iraq, in places like Africa. So you have been delivering your product in which locations, and how much of scalability have you reached?
Yeah, I mean, I would. This is a huge problem. So 50% of the world still hand wash clothes. We have impacted positively about 100,000 lives. So, you know, I don't think we're even scratching the surface yet in terms of the scale that we can reach. We've only built and distributed 1,000 machines, if that. But our next order will be another 1,000 machines, and next year we're building another 3,000 machines, maybe more. So um, there's an exponential growth to go through. We've I think in the past we've been so sensitive to where the need is, and the need is global. So if someone wants to request a machine, we often honor it. So whether it's in uh you know whether it's 5 machines in
Okay.
somewhere like uh South Africa, or an orphanage in Kenya, or a hospital in the Republic of Congo, or a refugee camp in Uganda, or a hospital in Gaza. The, these are places where we distribute machines, but I think our main focus is now to manufacture at scale, sell our machines in bulk to NGOs, to the UN, to governments, to foundations, and we want to export out of India and make impact in that way. So that's what we're looking forward to over the next few years.
Amazing, amazing. So your demand is not only it could be developed nations as well. Just having a conversation with you, it might be pockets of, because it's 50% of the world. It might also have, your research might be telling you that it's not only the southern part of the world. It's also the northern part of Western world as well, where there might be some requirements of such kind of a machine in there, because of, for example, there are pockets in every city like which do not have the ability to reach that kind of product. So is your demand generally, you're open for all types of demands, right? You're open for anyone who gives an order and wants to go through the process of delivering, or are you dividing it into something which is this is the kind of need I'll fulfill, this is not the kind of need I'll not fulfill, this can be fulfilled by somebody else, that's not me? Is that something that you're having a barrier towards as well?
Yeah, at this point in time, we do get requests. We get, I would say, maybe hundreds of requests a month,
Right.
across all of our social media and our website, on people that want to buy the machine, that live in what we would say a Western or a global North country. So people that go camping or have a tiny home, or live off grid. That's not the market that we're trying to serve at this point in time. That's not our priority at this point in time. So
Right.
there may be a day in the future where we would facilitate that kind of demand, but that's not our focus right now.
Amazing.
We're mainly focused on um, NGOs, governments, foundations that can buy these machines at scale.
Mm. So looking at your volume of orders, so currently you're getting at a 5 orders also you have to give them, right? But what is your ask from my audience, what would be the right kind of number that should be the order for someone who is into the government, or somebody who is a policymaker, or he or she is the an NGO owner across regions? So what would be that amazing order value that goes for the ask from the audience?
I feel like in Kaun Banega Crorepati, ask the audience.
Why not?
Uh,
You should.
no,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, you can fit 70 plus machines into a container, or a 20-foot or a 40-foot container would be 150 machines. That being said, we're interested to talk to anyone who will help us scale in places around the world. So, you know, I would be interested to talking to anyone in the audience that that is able to impact people
Hmm.
through volume of machines.
Amazing. Amazing. So, talk to us about your social impact and how you are involved with Whirlpool Foundation. How are you involved with the larger players in the social philanthropy side, as well as how are you engaging with your business with these organizations, and how are they respecting you and reciprocating your efforts? How are they working on it with you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our work is because of the support that we get from corporate partners. Whirlpool has been an incredible partner of ours for the last 3 or 4 years. This is a real 1+1=3 um, a partnership. They have been making washing machines for the last 100 years, and we've been distributing machines for the last 5 or 6 years. So it was a moment in time where we could both connect and do more together rather than alone. So yeah, we really appreciate Whirlpool's support in that effort.
Mhm. So looking at the product that you've made, so you've talked about one version of the product which went to Iraq and it did not perform well. But then even then they liked it because in the end it was solving a problem. And then how many versions did it take to reach the current version of your product?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, and I think as a as an organization that builds products and designs products, we will forever evolve the product to future versions. You just have to look at your phone, and
Correct.
I'm on the Samsung Galaxy 23, I think. So we will always evolve our products, and we're on our probably like our fourth or fifth generation of product, and there'll be more in the future.
So, looking at the making of this product, so what is the cost of making such a product for you, unit costing, and how does your order value happen? So, are you profitable per unit? So, what is your profitability in terms of, are you making some money for the NGO or the organization that you run to get the money back into the system to work? So, give me some understanding of this product and what is the cost implications, and how does it work, the financials of one product, the unit costing? And
Yeah, I mean, so we don't release the product cost publicly, so I won't be able to talk to that. However, it's free to the end user. So at this point in time, the user who uses the machine, it will be free to them. So yeah, if anyone's interested, we'd love to have a conversation to see how we can scale together.
right. So if scalability is the point, he will open up more and talk about the numbers when the scalability is the point of the conversation. So that's great. So moving forward, looking at the patent. So when was the patent granted, and is it already fully granted, or is it in the process of getting granted?
Yeah, I mean, everything that we can talk about in our innovation is in the public domain. So I'd encourage your users, your listeners to
Yeah.
go and research if they're interested.
Amazing, 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 amazing. So, what makes you resilient in such a situation? So, when you are building such a product, what is resilience for you? What are those moments, and how have you driven your moment of truth? That okay, I still have to work on it. So, what drives you? Keep going.
Um, For me, it's about falling in love with the problem, because the solution will always change, but the problem will always be there. So that helps me with resilience. So when times are really tough and you know it's hard, making something out of nothing is incredibly, like, very, very difficult. But you have to keep going back to why you started and why you'll continue to be going on, because that's the problem. The problem is still there, and people need these solutions, and wherever the solution is, the problem will always be there.
Right, right, and that drives you. So, so for example, there must be moments where you must have failed as well, and you must have said, no, no, this is not the last day. This is the first day. What drives you in that is saying that, and what makes you more resilient as a person?
I think my advice to anyone that's building something is that you need something deeper than awards, money, respect. Like, it has to go something deeper. Like the washing machine project, from the outside looking in, is an incredible organization. We've won so many awards, but it's incredibly hard to build a product, market it, make sure it's getting to the end user in the most efficient way. And there needs to be something more than just external validation. And for me, it's personally because this is a huge problem and no one is looking at this problem at the scale that we are right now. That's one thing. The other thing that makes me even more resilient is the people that I work with, I'm receptive to the people who are helping me, or helping the washing machine project solve this issue. And the final thing is, I think for me, it's a bit of a duty. Like, this is my job for life. I'm not gonna be. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not exiting.
Right.
This is my last job for as long as possible.
And we would love to meet you face to face. Pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Ocean.
Yes, thank you.